right, so unless you're new to whiskey and you've been living in a fucking cave for the last, couple of years, Uncle Nearest is a new whiskey out in the market, right?
I mean, if new meaning like 5 years old.
Well, and there is a serious connection between Uncle Nearest,
absolutely,
and Jack Daniels.
That's right.
So today I thought we would talk about some of what Uncle Nearest is, kind of its background.
Yeah.
But then I thought it would be really cool to do like a Jack Daniels / Uncle Nearest comparison.
Sounds like a good plan.
So if you want to see a couple of guys drink a little too much today,
oh, then hold my whiskey.
Right after this.
So this is Hold My Whiskey, and today I am still Zane.
And I'm Jeff. And today we're going to do what?
We're going to drink.
Oh yeah, we're going to drink. But we're also going to talk about...
It's talking about two great whiskeys, according to Americana.
That's right. I mean, you can't get more American than this, right?
No, that's absolutely correct.
It's American is kind of side and American woo side, right?
Yeah, that's true. We got
honestly, I think we're looking at maybe two success stories right here in front of us
that a lot of us didn't even know about until
recently.
Did we get on the hype train like everybody else?
Yeah,
right?
so we are hopping on the hype train.
There it is.
Now I haven't seen a lot of Jack Daniels / Uncle Nearest comparisons.
Yeah, I think people are afraid to give their opinions.
I don't get that. That
yeah,
makes
I don't
no
know.
sense to me. I'm like, man, come on, guys, let's just jump in on this thing. So I think first off, we need to talk about Uncle Nearest.
Yeah, we can do nutshell, but we know that the Uncle Nearest,
Nathan Green,
was responsible for the tutelage of
basically Jack Daniels.
Jack Daniels.
So Nathan Green was a former slave.
Yes.
He was working for a pastor who had him doing a side gig of making whiskey. I guess with a pastor, it's probably not a good thing to be making whiskey in the 1800s.
Temperance movement and all.
But so he had this guy named Nathan Green who was making whiskey, and he brought him in to distill it for him.
Yeah.
And we're just gonna be right up front. Nathan Green was a slave.
Yeah. But with that too, he also was bringing a history of whiskey making.
Yeah, so
at that time,
absolutely was. So, and he developed basically what the Tennessee process basically through this whiskey, because he was the first person to do charcoal filtering.
Right.
And so this dumb little white boy,
yeah,
by the name of Jasper.
Yeah, the orphan.
Yeah, was he an orphan?
I think
he was. I think he was a family of like 10 kids. So he probably felt like an orphan.
Oh, you're talking about Jasper.
Jasper. So he came into the room and he wanted to work with his pastor. So he introduced Jasper to this guy, Uncle Nearest, who was Nathan Green, and tell him to teach him how to distill whiskey.
Okay. And then
this little boy grew up to become an owner of the distillery, kept Uncle Nearest on as his master distiller, and through his business sense built an empire of whiskey. What empire was that?
Jacques Daniels.
Jasper's name became Jack Daniels.
Yeah.
And the rest is history, right? And then the Green family, who basically worked at the Jack Daniels distillery as a master distiller, or in some capacity
of some
kind of disappeared into the wide fame of Jack Daniels itself.
Right.
But there is actually photos out there of like Jack Daniel sitting next beside like Nathan Green's son, who was the master distiller when Jack Daniel was still alive.
So there's been basically some form of this family's touch with Jack
forever. Jack Daniels wouldn't exist without Jack Daniel, obviously, but Jack Daniel would never have existed without Uncle Nearest.
Exactly.
So the Jack Daniels we drink today was basically developed by this guy.
Which is really cool.
Now, Jack Daniels was on purpose or not on purpose quiet about that for years. This young lady came in and kind of caught wind of the story behind Uncle Nearest and wanted to start a distillery dedicated to Uncle Nearest. Hence, we get Uncle Nearest, which now has won a crap ton of awards.
Yeah, sure.
And now the most important part of this entire episode.
Yeah, we're going to just compare two, good whiskeys.
So is this like a Titan versus Titan deal?
Maybe a little. It's a little Clash of the Titans, maybe.
It does seem like this is a new guy on the block, right?
It is the new guy on the block.
This is a guy who's been on the block for
I mean,
a
to be
long
fair,
time.
this is not what this was made from. I mean,
No,
in all reality, but
No.
its origin is so cool wrapped up with this one that
Yeah.
let's clash some heads.
I mean, how often do you see a whiskey that inspired a whiskey become its own whiskey?
that is an odd thing.
That sounds so American, right?
That is exactly
You don't
right.
get more. You don't get that shit in Scotland.
No, you're not.
Only in America.
America, damn it.
America. Okay, so we can't get any more redneck.
Yeah, I think we just did.
So we've had a lot of Uncle Nearest
This morning.
recently. This
recently. afternoon.
So I think before we jump into Uncle Nearest, let's remind ourselves what Gentleman Jack tastes like.
5 whiskey later.
But okay, let's go in on Gentleman Jack.
The nose is good. It's appley.
Yeah, you get that? Like
Yeah.
it's like a crap ton of apple.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, no, it's appley. Yeah. I'm gonna drink.
Wow, that smells so sweet too, right?
Yeah, okay,
All right,
here we
let's go in. Not as much apple on the flavor, right?
The wood flavors are diminished. I think that's the filtering. So with that, you get more of a floral note, but this finish is just fast.
Oh, it's like. But now Jack Daniels doesn't.
No, it's not supposed to.
They talk about that. This Gentleman Jack is made for everyone.
Yeah, for
It's an everyman whiskey.
Yeah.
It's like whatever your palate is, Jack Daniels is meeting it.
Yeah, if it's Jack and Coke, if it's ice, if it's crushed ice.
And that's what makes Jack Daniels, right?
Yeah, and
It is the whiskey that gets you there.
the one. Yeah, that's the thing. When we're talking about kings of whiskey,
It ain't Crown.
it's not Crown. This is not bad in any way, but it's just it's blasé.
Here's the deal with Gentleman Jack. I bet it's great to make cocktails with. As far as a neat pour, I'm not impressed with a neat pour of Gentleman Jack. I can call us bougie.
No, I'm not impressed. I mean, it's definitely not like, bottom shelf necessarily. It's just it just doesn't have a lot of.
All right, so let's bring up Uncle Nearest now. Oh, there's so much difference.
I hate to be that guy.
I hate to break it to you, Jack Daniels.
Oh
but-
no! Oh,
Yeah.
the pinky came out.
I get more bougie just smelling this whiskey. I mean, okay, so it's funny. The Jack Daniels did bring out more of the apple that exists within, but there's no apple that I remember picking up the first time.
I mean, it's just hands down different.
There is so much complication going on with Uncle Nearest.
Yeah, for sure. This is. I mean, it's water.
Now, do realize, I mean, this is the guy who introduced the charcoal processing.
Water.
This is the guy who's doubled the charcoal processing this.
Food.
I mean,
I'm gonna taste it again.
let's do it. Hang on, I'm gonna go both ways this time. You know what? This washes Uncle Nearest down a lot easier. It's crazy.
I mean, I just did it back to back.
Yeah.
This was complication stuff, and then when you throw this on there, it was like harsher. It was like not as. It's supposed to be double filtered, of course, but
Yeah.
it just didn't have the maturity or whatever. It's a craft whiskey.
Now, like I said, we don't know the length of time in a barrel.
Is that bad? No, it's not bad. It's not bad. It's just not.
This is made to work for anybody, but the fact that they call it double mellow, double charcoaled, and this is the place where that idea was developed. It honestly, to me, feels like there is a smoother finish to this even than to this.
Oh, hands down.
You know what I mean? It seems like even though this is supposed to be smooth finished, this is smoother to me than this, and even though
Yeah.
not the same thing going on.
I don't. To be clear, I don't want to confuse the palates, because I mean, complications wise, Uncle Nearest is way more complicated. Yeah.
Now, are we surprised by that?
Of course not.
No, we knew going into this comparison that Uncle Nearest would probably easily overshadow Gentleman Jack.
Sure. But I think a good takeaway is that I can, if you want to call it more so, smell similarities.
Yeah, the similarities are there.
There's
right?
an interesting thing there going on. It's obviously completely different mash bills, but perhaps it's that idea that Tennessee whiskeys are Tennessee whiskeys.
Here's the funny thing. I would both label these Tennessee whiskey. If
Yeah.
I put these up against a standard bourbon in Kentucky, I could tell the difference. I think there is something to say about that Tennessee process that Uncle Nearest developed, that Nathan Green developed,
Yeah.
that has separated Tennessee whiskey from Kentucky.
Yeah, I'm wondering, I mean, how many of you, do you migrate to a Tennessee whiskey, or are you that Kentuckian bourbon-y? Or are you like me? I'm suddenly becoming a New York City.
I think you should do your own Jack Daniels comparison and let us
Yeah.
know what you think. You should grab like either a bottle of Jack, Gentleman Jack, and compare it to Uncle Nearest.
Yeah, I think so. And, you know, there could be something we've left out here. For instance, we didn't try it on ice.
No.
You know, we didn't mix it with Coke.
We didn't throw it with what?
I'm sorry, I just...
Did you say mixed whiskey with
I
what?
had a tear.
Oh, sorry.
I'm so sad.
My bougie comes out when you start saying mixing it with anything.
But I'm just saying, we didn't fully exhaust this, which I think some of these wonderful viewers would be able to.
So what are you? Are you a Jack Daniels through and through? Are you the cheerleader?
Yeah, I mean...
Are you the cheerleader of Jack Daniels? It's Jack Daniels or nothing? Or are you willing to jump in and try some Uncle Nearest?
I urge you to jump in and try some Uncle Nearest.
In the meantime, hey, you know, if you found this comparison interesting, for God's sakes, please don't comment down below.
You better not, and if you subscribe, I swear to God.
We'll just let other people subscribe too.
Did you just like drunk hiccup?
No, I haven't drunk hiccup.
I'm pretty sure. Well,
Everybody subscribe too.
Stop it.
So in the meantime, you guys continue to be cool this week, and we'll see you next week for another Hold My Whiskey.
And Nearest up.
Cheers.